Natural resources. Natural resources are riches provided courtesy of Mother Nature. Natural resources are something of value that people get from the environment. Many of them are essential for our survival, while others are used for satisfying our wants. Natural resources are resources that occur in nature and can be used to create wealth. Sun, land, water, soil, plants, minerals, forests, and animals are all natural resources. These natural resources are classified into different categories. They are classified on 4 parameters: origin, renewability, availability, distribution. On the basis of origin, they are classified as biotic resources and abiotic resources. Biotic resources include living organisms such as animals, plants, and microorganisms. Abiotic resources include non-living things such as land, water, air, soil, and forests. These comprise of the basic natural surroundings that all organisms live in. On the basis of renewability, they are classified as renewable and non-renewable resources. Some resources are renewable, which means they can be replaced or grown back. For example, agricultural crops are renewable natural resources. After they are harvested, more seeds can be planted and grown. Thus, renewable resources can be depleted by human consumption, but they may be replenished. Wind power is also a renewable resource that has been used for thousands of years to pump water, irrigate crops, and also to soil boats. Forests are also renewable resources, but they take a very long time to get replenished or renewed. Similarly, water also takes a very long time to get replenished despite being a renewable resource. Sunlight, air, and wind are those renewable resources which are available in abundance and their quantity is not affected by human consumption. They are also called inexhaustible natural resources as they are present in unlimited quantity in nature and are not likely to be exhausted easily by human activity. A non-renewable resource is a natural resource that exists in a fixed amount that cannot be remade, regrown, or regenerated as fast as it is consumed and used up. Fossil fuels are non-renewable resources. Coal, petroleum, and oil are examples of such fossil fuels. These resources are also called exhaustible resources as the amount of these resources is limited. They can be exhausted by human activity in the long run. Fossil fuels take millions of years to form from the remains of plants, animals, and microorganisms. Through the years, these plants and animals died and were buried by layers of sediments, sand, and water. More layers of sediments got deposited, burying the remains deeper within the earth. The pressure from these layers, along with the heat from the Earth's crust on the biotic materials, resulted into rock layers that formed the crude oil and natural gas deposits. Since the process of formation of such fossil fuels takes so long, they cannot be replenished easily once they get depleted. On the basis of distribution, natural resources are classified as ubiquitous resources and localized resources. The word ubiquitous means found everywhere. As the meaning suggests, ubiquitous resources are distributed everywhere, and the best examples of the same are land and air. Natural resources found only in certain regions or locations are known as localized natural resources. Specific type of minerals and other fossil fuels are examples of such resources. There are different ways in which we use natural resources. For instance, we use plants for food in the form of fruits and vegetables. The wood that we get from trees is used for manufacturing furniture, paper, boxes, books, as well as clothes. All these are products that we use on a daily basis and also on a very large scale. We use animals like cattle for food as well as for getting dairy products such as milk. Milk and milk products form a part of our daily diet in one way or the other. We also rely on animals for the manufacturing of various leather products like leather shoes, bags, coats, as well as belts. We use rocks and minerals to make a variety of materials such as glass, metal, and ceramics. We convert fossil fuels into energy to power and heat our homes and fuel modes of transportation that include planes, buses, boats, as well as cars. These resources are thus helping our day-to-day lives function smoothly. Petroleum, a fossil fuel, is also used to make various plastic products that we use every day, either in the form of bottles, pens, bags, as well as many other products. We are using natural resources faster than they can be replenished. For example, forests are being cut down in order to supply our demand for wood and land. Rainforests, often called lungs of the earth, are being cut down at the rate of 50 million acres a year. Our dependence on the natural resources is creating many problems in the environment, including pollution and the loss of habitat for plants and animals. Collecting and burning fossil fuels for energy can damage the environment, polluting air, water and land. Natural resources take time to replenish, so it is important that we use them wisely. How can we save our natural resources? When you conserve, you save or protect something from loss or harm. We can conserve our natural resources in many ways. We can use the 3 R's, that is, reduce, reuse and recycle to conserve natural resources. We can conserve water by taking shorter showers, turning off faucets and taps when we do not need water, and fixing leaky pipes. We can recycle glass, metal, paper and plastic to conserve and protect the natural resources. Recycling helps in the manufacturing of other useful products and also avoids wastage. The use of fossil fuels can be reduced by turning off the lights and appliances when we do not need them. We can use energy-saving bulbs as well, which can help us save electricity. To conserve non-renewable fossil fuels, we can also use alternate sources of energy. One of them is wind energy that is generated with the help of windmills. Wind, being an inexhaustible resource, can be utilized in this way as an alternate source of energy and converted into electricity. Solar energy is another form of an alternate source of energy which can be used nowadays. It creates less or no pollution. Solar energy is capable of satisfying all our needs very easily. We need to find a way to tap this incredible source of energy. Some vehicles run on biodiesel, a fuel that is made from vegetable oils, animal wastes, or recycled greases. This alternative source of energy creates less pollution than burning fossil fuels. Natural resources are nature's gifts that we need to hold on to. It is imperative that we conserve and protect them, as our survival is dependent on theirs.
North America, natural resources. North America is richer than any other continent in natural resources. This has made USA and Canada two of the most advanced and modern countries in the world. North America is very rich in minerals, especially fossil fuels and metallic minerals, which form the base of modern industry. Coal is an important source of power and a crucial raw material in the manufacture of steel. North America has huge reserves of coal, and about 20% of the world's coal is mined in Pennsylvania, USA. Petroleum is an important source of power. It is the only fuel that is used by modern means of transportation. It also provides the raw material in the manufacture of lubricants, Vaseline, soap, and many other products. The major reserves of petroleum in North America are seen in a broad arc from Alaska to Texas in USA. It is also found in Canada and Mexico. USA is the third largest producer of petroleum in the world. USA is the second largest producer of iron ore after Russia. Iron ore and coal are very important for the steel industry, which forms the basis for industrial growth. Large deposits of iron ore are found in the area around Lake Superior and in the eastern part of the Canadian Shield. Iron is also found in the southern Appalachians. The United States is the largest producer of copper in the world. It is used in the manufacture of copper wires and is mined extensively around the Great Lakes and the Rocky Mountains. Mexico is the world's largest producer of silver. Besides being used to make jewelry for thousands of years, today silver is also used in the photographic industry. Large deposits of silver are found in USA and Canada. Canada and the United States produce substantial amounts of gold, which is mined in the Rocky Mountains. Canada produces about 90% of the world's nickel. Canada is also the largest producer of asbestos, zinc, and platinum, and the second largest producer of cobalt, uranium, and radium. The United States is the world's largest producer of uranium and sulfur. The coniferous forests in northern Canada, western Cordilleras, and the Appalachians provide softwood timber. Wood from the pine, spruce, willow, beech, and the oak trees is used to make furniture. The pine and spruce trees provide wood pulp for the paper industry, as well as raw material for the synthetic fiber industry of Canada and USA. Pine trees also provide resin and turpentine oil. Chicle trees in British Honduras provide chewing gum. The tropical forests provide a significant amount of timber for the manufacture of furniture and newsprint, despite being cut down to provide land for human settlement and cultivation in the past decade. Forests provide occupations to millions of people in USA and Canada in the lumbering, paper, rayon, and other related industries. Mexico and countries of Central America have tropical forests. Mahogany, logwood, and cedar are important trees of the tropical forests. These are called hardwood trees. Although only 10% of the land is under cultivation, North America is a surplus food producer. Extensive agriculture is practiced in Canada and USA, in case of which farms are large, covering hundreds of hectares. Tractors, harvesters, and other machines are used for plowing and other work on the farm. With the help of scientific methods of cultivation and widespread use of fertilizers, North America is the world's largest producer of maize, wheat, and soybeans. Wheat, a natural grass improved by man over the centuries, grows well in the temperate grasslands of the world. It is grown extensively in the prairies of North America, where the soil is quite fertile and deep. Hence, North America is the largest producer of wheat. Maize, also known as corn, is the original food crop of North America and the main staple food grain in Mexico. Most of the maize is used for cattle and pigs. It is grown in large quantities in the southern prairies, as it requires a warm climate and frequent showers in summer. North America produces more than half of the total maize produced in the world. Barley and oats are temperate crops, which can stand more cold and need less water. Barley is used to make beer in large quantities, while oats are used as cattle fodder. Cotton grows well in the Mississippi Basin, south of the prairies, as well as in Mexico. The warm summers with frequent rainfall and fertile soil provide suitable conditions for growing cotton. North America is the largest producer of cotton in the world and also produces the superior long staple variety. Tobacco is cultivated in southern USA and Cuba, but some of the best varieties are grown in North America. Sugarcane is cultivated in the south, along the Gulf of Mexico, parts of Central America, and the West Indies. Cuba, known as the sugar bowl of the world, is the world's largest exporter of sugar. Soybean is an important crop that is grown in the same areas as maize in North America. Edible oil is extracted from the beans with the help of heavy machines. Potatoes and sugar beet are grown in many areas of the prairies. Sugar beet is used for making sugar. Both the crops are used to feed cattle and pigs. Just like sugarcane, rice is also cultivated in the southern parts of North America, along the Gulf of Mexico, Central America, and West Indies. USA exports large quantities of rice since the population is relatively small and rice is not the staple food here. Fruits are cultivated in California, around the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence Valley. Cattle rearing is carried on a commercial scale in the drier parts of the prairies, in the southwestern parts of the United States, with the use of scientific methods and modern technology. Vast herds of cattle and sheep are kept on large ranches. cattle rearing has now become one of the most popular industries in the country, considering its usefulness as well as revenue. Cattle are bred to grow quickly and yield large quantities of meat. When the animals are 5 to 12 months old, they are sent to feedlots. There they are kept in pens and fed grain and vitamin supplements until they reach market size. North America is the largest producer of meat, with about 1/4 of the world's production. Dairy farming is an important industry for USA and Canada. The dairy belt extends from the cooler and humid parts of the prairies through the Great Lakes area to the northeast region along the Atlantic coast. Milk, cheese and butter are the chief products. North America produces about 25% of the world's total milk and dairy products. Fishing is developed on a commercial scale in the seas around the continent. Grand Banks, one of the world's finest fishing grounds, is located off the island of Newfoundland in Canada. It has an extensive continental shelf, making the water shallow enough for the sunlight to reach the bottom. Here the cold Labrador Current from the north meets the warm Gulf Stream from the south. The mixing of cold and warm waters provides suitable conditions for fish to thrive. The cold Labrador Current also brings plenty of plankton, which provides food for fish. Cod is the main catch of the Grand Banks. Halibut, herring and mackerel are some of the fish caught along the Atlantic coast. Salmon is the main fish of the Pacific coast. North America is rich in water resources, except the desert regions of USA and Mexico. Hydroelectricity is generated at the Niagara Falls in Canada and USA, along the eastern Appalachians, St. Lawrence and the rivers of the Canadian Shield. North America is now the largest producer of hydroelectricity. The Tennessee Valley Authority of the Tennessee River in the United States is the first example of a multi-purpose project. That is, it is meant to serve many purposes such as irrigation, hydroelectricity, flood control and navigation simultaneously. Natural resources of Africa. Natural resources like trees, soil, water, minerals, etc. are the gifts of nature that are used by humans. With huge forests, many rivers, and a variety of minerals, Africa is highly rich in natural resources. Different resources are found in different parts of Africa. Rich in minerals, Africa is the world's largest producer of diamond, gold, and platinum. Around 95% of the world's diamond is found in Africa. Zaire and South Africa are its largest producers. Apart from jewelry, diamonds are used in industries for cutting and drilling. African countries like South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Democratic Republic of Congo produce around 50% of world's gold, which is used for making jewelry and currency. Petroleum is found in Nigeria, Libya, and Angola. Large reserves of other minerals found here are cobalt, copper, chromium, uranium, platinum, and bauxite. In spite of so many minerals found here, there are not many industries developed. This is due to the lack of iron ore and coal that are the basis for industrial growth. Forests and trees as valuable resources provide not only timber, but other important products like fruits and vegetables. The rubber trees found in the Congo Basin are now being cultivated and rubber is exported in large quantities. Three types of palm trees are found in Africa. The coconut palm, found in tropical islands along equatorial coast, provides coconut oil. The oil palm, found in Nigeria and other parts of West Africa, yields palm oil. Date palms, grown in oases, are an important food item for desert people. Egypt exports large amounts of dates. Cocoa from the cacao trees is used for making chocolates. Grown well in the equatorial lowlands, Ghana and Nigeria in West Africa are its largest exporters. The cola trees yield nuts used for making cola drinks and chewing gum. Large variety of fruit trees are found in Africa. Common fruits found in the tropical region are banana, papaya, jackfruit, pineapple and mango. Mediterranean region is known for citrus fruits like olives, oranges, lemon and grapes. Cashew nut is grown in East Africa. Zanzibar Island in Tanzania is the largest producer and exporter of cloves in the world. Africa grows both food crops, that is food for people, and cash crops, that is raw material for manufacturing industries. Food crops like yam and cassava are found here. Maize, an important cereal here, is grown in large quantities. Wheat, rice and sorghum are grown in small quantities. Cash crops are important as they help the economy of a country. Palm trees and groundnuts are grown in West Africa. Around 24% of world's coffee and more than 50% of world's cacao comes from Africa. Egyptian cotton and sisal are other important cash crops found here. Sisal, grown well in poor sandy soil, is used for making ropes and sacks. Water is another very important natural resource, which Africa has in plenty. Other than being used for drinking and domestic purposes, the rivers are used for irrigation, navigation and transport, and in production of power. A great number of dams have been built to harness power. The Kariba Dam on the Zambezi River is the largest producer of hydroelectricity, supplying power to Zambia and Zimbabwe. The Aswan Dam on the Nile provides electricity to Egypt. River Niger supplies hydroelectricity to Ghana. Africa was once known as the hunter's paradise because of the variety of wildlife found here. But laws had to be made against unlicensed hunting and poaching to protect animals that were being hunted in large numbers for pleasure and for selling their skin, bones, horns, tusks and feathers. Now, national parks and sanctuaries are being constructed to promote tourism, which is a fast-growing industry.
Natural resources of Asia.
The greatest natural wealth of Asia is its agricultural resources, but they are unevenly distributed. About 1/6 of Asia's land area is suitable for agriculture. Agriculture is carried on in the fertile river valleys of the Tigris, Euphrates, Indus, Ganga Brahmaputra, Sikyang, Shangyang and Hwanghae. Rainfall is unevenly distributed during the year, and so irrigation done by the use of canals is of great importance. 4 types of agricultural methods are carried out in Asia. The first type is shifting agriculture, which is the oldest type of agriculture. It is also known as a slash and burn method. In this method, land is cleared by cutting and burning trees, after which seeds are planted. This is a wasteful method of cultivation because after 2-3 years, the land becomes infertile and then a fresh clearing is carried out on a new land, which leads to deforestation. Shifting agriculture is carried on in some hilly regions of Southeast Asia, where there is plenty of rainfall and the hills are covered with thick forests. Tuber crops like yams and tapioca are grown. The second type of agriculture, subsistence agriculture, is practiced by most farmers in South and Southeast Asia. In this type, the farms are small and traditional methods of farming are followed. Much of Asia lies in the tropics and warm temperate latitudes. Hence, 2 crops can be harvested in a year. The farmers often raise some livestock, chiefly to help with the work. The third type of agriculture is plantation agriculture. Begun by European colonial rulers, it is also widespread in Asia, especially in parts of India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Here, huge estates of land are planted with a single crop like rubber, sugarcane, coffee, tea or bananas, which are major items of export. The fourth type of agriculture is the extensive agriculture, which is carried on in some parts of Central Asia and West Siberia. Due to the large size of the farm and the low density of population, manual labor is not possible. Machines are used to perform almost all farming operations. Wheat is the most important crop cultivated. 2/3 of the cultivated land grows food crops. The chief food crops of Asia are rice and wheat. Rice is a tropical crop of the monsoon region. More than 90% of the world production of rice comes from China and India. The other large producers of rice are Japan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Indonesia, Thailand, etc. Wheat is a crop of the subtropical and the temperate regions. It grows well in cool climates with moderate rainfall. Wheat is grown in Asian Russia, Central Asian countries, North China, India, Pakistan, and Southwest Asia. In India and Pakistan, wheat is cultivated during the winter season. Millet, like jawar, bajra and ragi, is cultivated where rice cannot be grown due to poor soil or lack of water. It is used as food for people and livestock. Like rice, it is native of Asia and has been cultivated probably for over 7,000 years. Various cash crops like cotton, sugarcane, tea, rubber and jute are also cultivated in Asia. China, India, Pakistan, Turkey and Syria are the leading cotton growing countries of Asia. India and China are the second and fourth largest producers of sugarcane in the world respectively. The other important producers of sugarcane are Philippines, Indonesia, Bangladesh, China and Taiwan. China, India, Indonesia, Sri Lanka and Japan are the leading producers of tea. Jute grows best in the delta of the Ganga-Brahmaputra. Bangladesh is the largest producer in the world, followed by India. 90% of the raw rubber comes from Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia and Sri Lanka. Malaysia is the largest producer and exporter of rubber in the world. In the drier parts of South Asia and in the temperate grasslands of Central Asia, people make a living by rearing animals. They get cheese, butter, meat, fur and hides for clothing, etc. from the animals. Some animals are used for transportation. Camels, goats and sheep are the most important animals in Southwest Asia. In Central Asia, Bactrian camels, goats, sheep and yaks are reared. Cattle and sheep are important in the temperate grasslands. Reindeer herding is a major activity in the north. Asia has large areas covered with two main types of forests which provide valuable forest products. The first type of forest is the hardwood forest, which includes the equatorial forest, the monsoon forest and the temperate deciduous forest. These forests are well known for teak, mahogany, rosewood, bamboo, sandalwood and camphor. The second type of forest is the softwood forest, which includes the coniferous forests of Siberia. Softwood is used for making paper pulp, synthetic textiles and matchsticks. Much of the Asian population depends on fishing as an occupation and fish as a source of protein in their diet. Most of the fishing is done in traditional boats. Japan and Russia are the largest and the most modern fishing industry. The leading countries for fishing after Japan and Russia are China, India, Indonesia and South Korea. Asia has some of the richest mineral deposits in the world. Asia has large deposits of iron ore, which is the most important mineral for the development of modern industry. India and China are the largest producers of iron ore in Asia. About 50% of coal reserves are found in Asia. Large coal deposits are found in western Siberia in Russia, in northwest China and in the peninsular plateau of India. The richest oil and petroleum reserves in the world are in Asia, mainly in Southwest Asia, in the Persian Gulf region. India, Siberia and China are large manganese producers of Asia. India ranks third in the world production of manganese. Malaysia is the largest producer of tin in the world. Other important producers of tin are China, Myanmar, Indonesia and Thailand. India is among the largest producers of mica in the world. Mica is a transparent mineral found in igneous rocks. Gold is found in Siberia in Russia, China, Mongolia and India. The main countries that produce silver in Asia are Malaysia, Indonesia and Myanmar. China is the largest producer of tungsten in the world. It is produced by South Korea and Thailand.
Natural resources and industries of Australia. Australia has vast resources and plenty of minerals. It is the world's leading exporter of wool and mutton and a major exporter of beef and wheat. Minerals, forests, agriculture, cattle rearing, dairy and sheep farming form a part of its resources. Two very important minerals in Australia are coal and iron ore. Coal, the chief mineral found here, is very important for the iron and steel industry and for generation of electricity. New South Wales is the leading coal-producing state. Coal is found in abundance along the southeastern coast. Newcastle is sometimes called the Pittsburgh of Australia. Australia is iron ore's leading manufacturing country in the southern hemisphere, with huge deposits in southern and western Australia. Large quantities of coal and iron ore are exported to Japan and other industrial countries. Gold found in southwestern Australia is an important produce of the country. Kalgoorlie, the most important gold mining centre of Australia, lies in the Western Desert. Water is piped from about 500 kilometers from a reservoir near Perth on the west coast. Power is generated from a local coal plant. Huge deposits of bauxite have been found in Queensland, Western Australia and Northern Territory. Today, Australia is the leading producer of bauxite in the world. Lead and zinc are found here in great quantities, especially in New South Wales. Australia stands third in the production of lead and zinc in the world. Other important minerals found here are silver, copper, tin, uranium and asbestos. Australia produces most of its own petroleum, which is found in the coastal regions. Generally a dry land, Australia does not have extensive forests. Tropical forests found in a broad belt along the northern coast experience monsoon type of climate and hence relatively more rain. Although these forests are interspersed with stretches of open savanna land. Tasmania has much forest land as it receives rain throughout the year. With over 500 varieties, eucalyptus trees are an important part of Australia's vegetation. Its timber is durable and is used for paving blocks and railway sleepers. The tanning oil is obtained from its bark. Resin also obtained from the eucalyptus tree is used for making varnishes. Thus, they are also known as gum trees. Australia is an important agricultural country. Though few Australians work in agriculture, its farms are very productive. The main agricultural regions are the Murray-Darling Basin in the southeast and the Mediterranean region in the southwest. Wheat, the most important crop of Australia, covers almost 50% of the total area under cultivation. Australia is one of the largest producers and exporters of wheat in the world. It is cultivated in the temperate grasslands where extensive agriculture is carried on. Rice is grown in the irrigated areas, especially around the River Murray. Sugarcane grows well in the tropical coastal strip of Queensland, which is affected by monsoons. Apples, pears and citrus fruits are cultivated mainly in the southeast region, which experiences Mediterranean type of climate. Other crops grown here are potatoes, oats, barley and maize. Not many crops are grown in Australia as most of the land is too dry. Even in the rainy agricultural regions, rainfall is not very reliable. Salty water from the artesian wells is not suitable for growing crops. To overcome these difficulties, storage dams and canals are built to irrigate crops. Most of the land is flat, making it possible for irrigation and for wide use of farm machinery. Most of the farming operations like sowing, harvesting, threshing are done by machines. Cattle rearing is the second largest industry in Australia. About 2/3 of the cattle are raised for meat and the rest for dairy products. Regions with more rainfall, like the savanna grasslands, have more vegetation and hence rear cattle more than sheep as they need more to eat. Nearly 75% of the cattle are reared in Queensland. Australia is the largest exporter of beef. Refrigerated ships enable Australia to send meat to markets halfway around the world. In Australia, sheep and cattle are more important than crops. Australian ranches are known as cattle stations which cover vast areas. Cattle roam freely and are rounded up each year by the stockmen. For dairy farming, cattle are raised in the wetter parts of the coastal areas like the southern states of Victoria, New South Wales and southern Queensland. The best grazing lands are in the Eastern Highlands. Dairy farms produce milk, butter and cheese and other milk products that are exported in large quantities. Australia's sheep population is about 14 times its human population, and it stands first in the production and export of wool. Most sheep are reared in the temperate zone in South Queensland. The sheep are mostly of merino type, which gives very good variety of wool. The important wool markets are Sydney in New South Wales and Melbourne in Victoria. Sheep farms or sheep stations are very large, often covering thousands of acres, and are divided into large fenced fields called paddocks. Each paddock has 2,000–3,000 sheep. Each farm is run by a family living in a homestead with the help of paid workers called jackaroos. The sheep are sheared at the farm headquarters in the beginning of summer, and the fleece is cleaned, sorted and pressed into large bales before being sent to the wool markets. In 1950, discovery of minerals like coal, iron ore, bauxite and petroleum has led to the development of modern industries in recent decades.
If you wanted to build or produce most anything, I want to think a little bit about what you would need to do it. And I have some pictures here just to get our imagination going. These guys are up to making something with iron, or maybe making iron bars, or making some type of a thing out of iron. And right here is an old picture of some planes being made in a factory. But let's just think in very general terms, the things you need to produce anything. So first of all, you're going to need some land. And that's definitely true if you're running a farm or if you're trying to produce timber. But you definitely need land even if you have a factory. Obviously, both of these factories are sitting on top of some land. Then you're going to need a building, maybe, but most probably a building. You're going to need some tools and equipment. Tools and equipment. Then you might need some raw materials. In this case, it might be iron. Over here, too, you would need some metal. You might need some electricity or some oil to keep the production lines going. So you're going to need some raw materials. Raw materials. And then you're going to need people to actually work in your factory. And this guy, these guys putting these hot bars of iron inside of whatever this thing right over here is, or the people working on the factory line. You don't see them here. This must be off time. But you need people to actually work on the factory line to tighten bolts and all the rest of things. So you're going to need labor. You are going to need labor. And if you put all of these things together, so let me put them all together. If you put all of these things together, then you should be able to produce your product. So you'll be able to output whatever you set yourself to do. So in the classical sense, when you think about all of these different things that you might put into production, sometimes they're referred to as the factors of production, they separate out, and this is in the classical sense, they separate out building and the tools and equipment as one of the classes. So you have land, you have labor, and you have buildings, and sometimes, just to throw it in there, sometimes you'll throw in management or organization in here. Someone needs to figure out how to lay out all of this type of thing. So this could also be a factor of production. But buildings and tools and equipment, they're kind of separated out from everything else. And in the classical sense, they're referred to as capital. they are referred to as capital. And they kind of have this separate distinction because these are things that are made by human beings for the specific purpose of producing other things. So obviously there are other things that are made by human beings. For example, you could have a, well, let me think of something that's nicely, so a hat. A hat is clearly made by a human being, but it's not made to, it's not produced to produce other things. It's meant for fashion. It's meant to kind of improve someone's quality of life, but it's not made to make other things. In this case, the building and the tools, the whole reason why they were made is to make other things. And so in the classical sense, they are referred to as capital. Now, if we go to kind of more modern times, you'll hear words like human capital, or financial capital. And you'll see a lot of different types of capitals that people try to talk about. Human capital or financial capital. So what are they talking about? Because as in the classical sense, capital were things that people made so that those things can help us make other things. So the analogy is human capital isn't just straight up labor. It plays a role in it, but when in modern times, when people talk about human capital, they're trying to make the same analogy. They're kind of investments made in humans so that those humans are better at producing other things. So human capital, when people refer to it, they're things like education, skills, talents, that someone might have experience that someone might have inside of them, or that were invested in them, if you think about the situation of education, that make them more productive. So they're things that are thrown into a human being that make them able to produce more output. So this is what people refer to as human capital, and how it's different than just straight up labor. Labor is just, look, any human being can go there and move something from one place to another, or pick something up and put it on a shelf, or take it off of a shelf and put it on another shelf. But what human capital is, are the investments in that person that make them more productive, more skilled, more able to do more interesting things. The same thing is true, just to throw it in there, just so you can kind of see this analogy, is financial capital. You could just say, look, there's something like, there's money for money's sake, or there's, that you could use to buy a hat, or that you could use to buy really almost any of these other things. But when people talk about financial capital, they're talking about money that's being used for the purpose of producing more output. So you could view it as the money that you actually need to run a factory, that you could for example, they'll call it working capital, is the money in the cash registers that you can actually run your store, or run your restaurant. Or it could be money that's put to work by buying kind of traditional capital, for buying these capital goods so that you can produce more output. But the whole idea here, I just want to introduce you to the idea of capital. It's central to the word capitalism in its classical sense, and then maybe in the more modern sense, especially when people talk about something like human capital.